Tom's parents always dreamed that he would become a musician. Everyone in their family was a musician, and somehow it was assumed that Tom would follow the beaten track from a very early childhood. He simply had no free time from the usual school. He ran to the music school, and from there to the tutor. If the boy was asked, even waking up in the middle of the night, what he hates most in the world, he would not hesitate to answer: music. Of course, neither Mom, Dad, nor especially Grandma knew about it. Otherwise, they would all have had a stroke. But Tom was silent, but only until he went to the 8th grade. At home, there was already a rack bursting with his awards. Tom was silent, but until the time when he was in the 8th grade and at home, the rack was already bursting with his awards. A girl from their class came. Tom, even after many years, remembered how his heart stopped and then began to work again, but already in a completely different rhythm. She was beautiful. She was like an angel. And Tom also understood that he had no chance to even get close to her. Skinny, pale, and always with some musical instruments in her hands. It was frustrating, but Tom wasn't the type to give up. He stared at the girl, whose name was Angela, by the way, for a whole week, and then decided to approach her. "Hi." She looked at him with huge, surprised eyes. "Hi. Can I walk you?" The girl laughed, looked at him, and answered, "No. If you are carried away by the wind, I will have to answer. And if we are attacked by hooligans, I will have to save you." The whole class laughed, and Tom fell down and rushed there. He met his grandmother. "What happened? Why are you not in the music school? And in general, what a disheveled look." Tom threw the violin with all his might. Grandma clutched her heart, and Tom ran to his room and locked himself in there to study music. Grandma drank valerian, Mom cried, and Dad kept silent meaningfully. He understood his son. He himself experienced similar emotions at his age. Yes, and now he went fishing with men and drank beer, and not all of this in the end. After his mother and grandmother even took him to the doctor, Tom defended his right to choose what he wanted to do. He enrolled in a sports section for swimming and, in general, began to lead a completely opposite lifestyle. Mom cried again, and Grandma drank valerian again. He often came home with a broken nose. He didn't even go to music anymore. When the question arose about where he should go to school, the female half of the family weekly began to suggest musical or cultural education, but Tom said he would go to the organs. Grandma was taken away in an ambulance. Now Mom did not pass the medical commission, then gritted her teeth and submitted documents to medical school. The woman seemed to slightly exhale. The doctor is very solid, but exactly until they find out what direction Tom chose. He was going to become a pathologist, an unusual one. "You observe the dead won't—" Igor grinned, sat down on a vacant chair, and stared at Tom. "I can't understand how you can eat here." Tom shrugged. "What happened? And where do you think I should eat outside?" Igor swallowed convulsively and shook his head negatively. "No, thank you very much." Tom reached the table and put the papers in front of him. "Here is your report. You did not come to me, but for them." Igor quickly looked through the sheets and only then smiled. "Thank you, Tom. Everything is just as I thought. Exactly as I thought. Now you can take your time and even pay attention to your friend. How are you doing?" Stasher laughed, but also mercantilistically. "I'm even afraid to think how you'd be talking to me if the conclusion wasn't normal. I'm doing fine. Until I got married, Mom and Dad are fine too." "Why don't you get married? I remember you stole the prettiest girl from the last party. Why? Why?" "Yeah. As soon as they find out where I work, they disappear very quickly. Even the ones who 5 minutes ago really wanted to marry me." "You've made up," Igor sighed, and went to my mother. No amount of talking doesn't help. Mother-in-law also adds fuel to the fire. Yes, and the law adds fuel to the fire. Constantly says that I'll be shot. She's the only one. Tom washed the mug, a stranger. And if she leaves you, she'll file for divorce alone with a child. Igor looked at his friend with a pleading look. Tom, talk to her. She's like off the chain. She doesn't listen to me at all. She doesn't want to listen to me for a week. Damn it! Tom looked at his friend carefully. Yes, you don't look well. Something else has happened. Igor sat down more comfortably. Listen, I'm already thinking of leaving this service myself. Tom raised his eyebrows in surprise. He knew very well that for Igor, service and honor were not empty words. It was not a fairy tale to send such an arrogant man. He'd heard about the change of department head before, but he'd never seen him. You know, I have a feeling this isn't going to end well, and the whole department is talking about him and his colleagues going out. It's a wonder Internal Affairs hasn't taken an interest in him yet. There's some hairy paw, but hopefully he won't get to me anytime soon. You're lucky you're sitting in this basement and nobody cares about you. The bell rang in the office where they were sitting. Well, it was a sign of things to come. Igor quickly said goodbye, but managed to say that today was the weekend and they were going to talk. Why should I wait? Where are you going? Don't raise your voice, please. This is not the place for shouting and rushing. The lieutenant colonel threw him an angry look, but then lowered his voice. We need to do an autopsy as soon as possible. The girl has a heart condition. Her death is expected. That's why I expect a speedy conclusion. I'll come tonight. He stepped out and, pulling back the sheet, froze. Often the dead looked good, but the stamp of death always left a trace on the face. Here there was nothing. The young woman was as alive, and she was also very beautiful. Tom sighed. Such young, beautiful people leave, and such not-so-good people somehow stay. He gave the order and went to prepare for the autopsy. As soon as he took the scalpel, the body in front of him became of purely professional interest, a kind of quest to find something that will put everything in its place. He made a small incision, literally a centimeter, and stepped back from the table. The girl's skin visibly trembled. Tom leaned over to her lips. No breathing, as if it didn't exist or was... What nonsense! He took a stethoscope from the drawer and leaned over the body. At first, he heard nothing. Then he moved to the right side and froze. The girl's heart was beating on the right. It was very rare, but how could she have been brought here? Tom grabbed the phone. He realized that there was something wrong. Otherwise, the lieutenant colonel wouldn't have rushed him. Igor, I need your help very urgently, but without anyone knowing. In 2 words, he explained the situation and hung up. Not even 15 minutes later, a friend appeared on the doorstep, followed by a woman with a suitcase. So show me. Anna bent over the girl. After a few minutes, she opened the suitcase. She was injected with something injected into her. We need to find the injection marks while I bring her to her senses. Igor and Tom set to work. They quickly found a mark under her knee. 15 minutes later, the girl moaned. The doctor looked at them. What do we do? She needs to go to the hospital. She needs drips. That can be organized at home. We're seriously concerned for her safety. We can do this. The girl looks strong. She doesn't drink or smoke. Igor stretched thoughtfully. It's not clear how she could have ended up in this company. Tom took off his dressing gown. Let's go to my place. My shift ends in half an hour, but the shift supervisor always comes early. The main thing is to get the girl to the car before he arrives. Everyone made it on time. Tom shouted to his partner, who came in a minute after they had put the girl in the car, that he was very late, but he would call him later, and they left immediately, already being at home when the doctor was putting the girl on an IV. Igor asked, "What next? You know, by the evening they'll miss her. So, until the evening. We have to talk to security." Igor only shook his head. Easy to say, but I'll try. After 2 hours, the girl came to herself. She looked around the room with surprise and stopped her gaze. Nastasia and this one. Who are you and who are you? She confusedly replied, I am Nastya. And where are these? In the doorway rang, and Tom rushed into the anteroom. It was Igor, with him 2 men. You are just in time. The girl woke up, the doctor softly said. Ask only the most important things. In about 20 minutes, she will fall asleep again. It turned out that the girl worked part-time in a cleaning company. She was hijacked to work. Time in the cleaning company, she was taken away to clean the very cottage where the lieutenant colonel and his comrades were making noise. The owner himself fell for the beautiful girl, and when she refused him in a rude way, he took her off and gave her some injection, saying that now she would be pliable, but whether he did not calculate the dose or the girl had such a reaction to the organism. In general, everyone was convinced that she was dead, the heart was not listened to, that it was on the other side, and no one in a drunken frenzy guessed that he needed a conclusion, that it was just a cardiac arrest, which he himself ordered Tom to do. By evening, Nastya finally came to her senses. Tom had already told her the circumstances under which they had met. The girl was frightened, crushed, and asked, Lieutenant Colonel's mom was taken away right in the morgue. Probably he wanted to bury the body as unidentified, or maybe something else. Anyway, 2 months later, Igor received Alla's department. They managed to persuade her to return, not immediately, of course, but Nastya helped a lot. She said quietly, You can't imagine if it wasn't for Tom and your husband, I wouldn't be in this world anymore. With a kind of reverence, she said that only a good specialist in his work could save her life. Mom immediately calmed down. God, if only he had found a normal wife, not some lady in trousers with a gun in front of her. Details of the acquaintance of Tom and Nastya did not know, and Nastya also turned out to be a violinist. At her own wedding, for the first time in many years, Tom again took the violin in his hands, and together they played a sad romantic melody that made all the guests cry. If you liked this story, please support me with a thumbs up. For you, it means nothing, but it means a lot to me. Thank you.